All right, this is after we finish talking about the 42 journeys of the Jewish people in the desert, and the last of which was Yarden Yericho, just right opposite the Jericho, I guess the entrance point of the Jewish people into the land of Israel, and that is spoken about in the beginning in the book of Joshua. How God split the sea for them, the river, split the Jordan River, and they went across the Jordan River. Okay, so now we're talking about what's going to be in the land of Israel. So we're sort of skipping a little bit, but when they get to the land of Israel, so they're going to divide it up, right? They're dividing up the land of Israel. But the Levites, they don't get an official portion. The Levites don't get a portion. It's divided into basically 10 and a half, 9 and a half, I'm sorry, 9 and a half portions. 9 and a half portions. Gad and Reuven and half of the tribe of Manasseh didn't take a portion in the land of Israel. They took a portion, Gad and Reuven that they didn't take. Manasseh, he was given. Moses gave him a half. Why that exactly was, the Rebbe explains, very interesting. There's a different opinion of what happened, but the Rebbe also gives his explanation. But let's not go into that right now. So we have 9 of the tribes get their portions in the land of Israel. They're the portion under 9 and a half tribes, and 2 and a half tribes get outside of Israel. So that's all 12 tribes together. But Manasseh and Ephraim, those are the tribe of Joseph got divided into 2. So that means there's 13 tribes, but there's only 12 portions. So what happens? Levites, they don't get a portion. The Levites don't get a portion. So what does God do? God gives them 42 cities in addition to the 6 cities of refuge, which we're going to talk about the 6 cities of refuge in a second. Okay, here we go. The measurements of the city. Okay, the Et Arim and the cities. The Et Arim and the cities Asher Tidnu Levim, which are given to the Levites. Excuse me, it's the camera over here. At Sheish Arim Miklat. First of all, the 6 cities of refuge. We're going to see what those are soon. 3 of them are outside of the boundary of Israel, then on the side of Jordan. And 3 of them are right. That's on the east side of Israel and 3 of them are in Israel, and they're actually in a line. The 3 of them, the 3 that are outside of Israel, there's one on the top, and corresponding to it on the same, what is it called? The longitude. It is also another city of refuge. So there's 3 outside of Israel and 3 inside of Israel. Those are the we're going to talk about that more. 3 cities of refuge outside of Israel, in other words, in the area of Gad and Reuven, and 3 in Israel. In addition to that, they also get 42 cities. So it says that the Arim Asher Tidnu Levim, 6 cities of refuge where any murderer can run. Valeim, and add on to these 6, give 42 more cities, and those cities are also cities of refuge. You can the murderer can run there. Okay, what is this thing? The cities of refuge. We're going to talk about this in a second. So the cities of refuge are like this. If someone kills somebody, whether it was intentional or unintentional or totally accidental, he tries to run to one of these cities of refuge. It's a strange law. The law doesn't exist anymore. But the law is he has to run to one of these cities of refuge, even if he's an intentional murderer. Why? Because the direct relatives of the murdered person, the victim, have a right to kill this guy. They have a right to kill him. They have a right to kill him. Okay. It's not so simple. And a little bit of it, I don't tell the truth, I really don't understand myself, and you'll see why. So there's basically 3 types. Not all murderers go to these cities of refuge. If it becomes proven that the person had a warning and he killed intentionally, then the person is taken out and he's killed. He's killed, which is almost impossible to do because you have to have two witnesses and they have to give the person a proper warning, don't do it or you'll be punished. And he has to immediately, before these two witnesses, he has to immediately kill this person. And he has to admit, I heard what you said and I don't care. That's why I'm doing it. And he has to kill the person in front of them within 5 seconds or something like that. He has to kill him. Then the person is killed. If it takes longer or all these conditions, so it was almost impossible to kill somebody. It says that a court that killed somebody once in 7 years, according to some people, 70 years, it was called a hanging court. Okay. So those are the cities. If a person kills somebody on purpose, then he got killed. If a person killed, then there's other mitigating circumstances where if it was obvious, let's say he did take too much time or whatever, then there was other sub punishments that were given. He was put into a starved to death. But let's just take it at face value. A person that kills somebody on purpose, he's taken out of the city of refuge and he's tried. And if he's found guilty, then he's killed. Punishment for murder is beheading. If a person killed someone else totally by accident, right? Totally by accident. The brakes in his car didn't work, or the person, let's say, ran in front of his car, right? Jumped out in front of his car, and he killed the person. So that person goes free, and the avenger can't avenge him. Can't avenge him. That's forbidden. So obviously, if you see somebody running, you just can't kill him because maybe he killed total accident. But if someone killed somebody else through negligence, and in the Mishnayot and the Gemara, also in Makot, it talks about this. What exactly is negligence? But if somebody kills somebody by negligence, and it wasn't on purpose, he didn't mean to kill the person, but it was due to his direct negligence that this person died, then that person has to run to a city of refuge. And we'll talk about this in a moment. And he has to stay there for the rest of his life or until the high priest dies. It can be the high priest, it can be his assistant. We'll see. Nevertheless, it has to stay there until the high priest dies. That's the law. As soon as the high priest dies, he can go out and he cannot be killed by the family, bereaved family. All right, so here we go. So he's given there's 42 cities that are given to the Levites, and on top of them, 6 more cities, which are the cities of refuge. Let's just do this quickly and maybe we'll go back. We'll see if we have time. All the cities you're going to give to the Levium, altogether 48 cities. At Hamvik Migoshehem, them and the area outside of them. It spoke about earlier. Orim Asher Tidnu, and these lands that you give, Me'achuzat Bnei Israel, these cities that you give from the possessions of the Jewish people, Me'et Rav Tarbu, Me'et Ma'at Tamitu. The other tribes, they have to donate from their land to the Levites. Ish Kafi Nachalato Asher Nachalu Yitan Me'ariel Vivim. He has to give to the cities of the Levites. There's no Rashi here, but let's see what Sforno. Because Sha'alu Otam Bedamim, these cities, they cost money. It was a lot of land, and you had to give. So Ma'at Shal Oto Shevet Sha'ayalo Chelek Muat Shavet Bedamim El Chelek Arav Sha'ayanoten the Levim Oto Shevet Asher Chalko Rav Kamut. In other words, let's say there's one tribe that has, just for example, 200,000 people, and there's another tribe that has 20,000 people. Right? So the tribe of 20,000 people, it has to give 1/10 as much land to the Levites as the others. Simply. All right, now we're going to talk about the actual cities of refuge. Now, these 42, there's a little bit of a difference between the 42 and the 6. The 6 cities of refuge, if the murderer, the accidental murderer, runs there and he makes it into the city, even if he doesn't know that he's in the city protects him. But if it's a person, a purposeful sinner, I'm sorry, but the accidental sinner, if he runs to one of these 42 cities of the Levites, the city also protects him from the avenger, but only if he has the intention to go in. Only if the murderer is there intentionally, he knows that he's there. It doesn't automatically work. Okay, let's now go on and learn about the 6 cities of refuge. God said, this is, by the way, mentioned several times, this commandment. It's mentioned other times, and there's one time in the book of Deuteronomy, we'll see, in Shoftim, sort of like near the end. And there it says that God will add on 3 more cities to these 3 cities, to the 6 cities that exist now. So when Mashiach comes, Mashiach will add on 3 more cities. Daber ben Israel, speak to the Jewish people and say to them, you're going over the Jordan River, Arza Canaan, to the land of Canaan. Vikritem lechem, or you should single out for you some cities, or miklat, cities of refuge. Tien lechem, that should be for you. The nas shama, and there can run there, rotzeach, a murderer, maken nefesh, who kills somebody, bishkaga, by accident or by, accident. Rashi, v'hikritem, ein kriya lalashon hazmina. Kriya can also mean to dig out, but here it means hazmina, it means that you should, single out, like invite. That God is calling in front of me, is inviting me. It says, this city, Parshas Miklat over here, it's written 5 times the word Miklat. This is the Balaturim. Miklat. Why? Because Miklat means to absorb. It'll take in a person, right? Absorption center. Sanctuary city. Sheyiklat, that he will be taken in and he won't get killed. Sheyeshlo chamisha shemot. Because you won't kill this person, take away his soul, and the soul has 5 names to it. So that's why it says Miklat 5 times, because the soul also has 5 names. Nefesh, Ruach, Neshama, Chai, Yechida. Vayulechem Orim LaMiklat, and these cities will be for refuge, Migoel, from the avenger. The Goel. Goel means like he'll redeem, he's going to redeem the blood of his relatives that was spilled. And therefore the murderer cannot get killed until he gets judged. Either Goel Adam, the one who's avenging the blood, he is the karov, he is a relative of the victim. Harim, the cities that you're going to count, that you're going to appoint, Sheish Ari Miklati Alachem. These are 6 cities of refuge, right? This is in addition to the 42 cities that were given to the Levites. Rashi, Magid tells you, Sheish Ari Miklat, Sha'af al pi she'ivdil Moshe, even though that Moses, in his lifetime, he already assigned 3 of these cities. But Moses didn't go into the land of Israel, right? So he assigned these 3 cities. Which cities were going to be the cities of refuge? He did that Be'ever HaYarden, east of the Jordan River, right? East of the Jordan River, not in the boundary of Israel. As these 3 cities that Moses picked, lo yakoltot, they wouldn't save an accidental murderer, until 3 more that Joshua was going to assign in the land of Canaan. At Shlosh Arim, the 3 cities should be given Le'ever Yarden on the east side of the Jordan. At Shlosh Arim, Titnu, and 3 of them should be given in the land of Canaan. Eretz Miklat Tieno. It's the land of Canaan. It's not yet called the land of Israel until the Jews go in. Israel, by the way, is the third son of Israel is the third. I'm sorry. Israel is the son of Isaac, the third of the fathers. Israel, his name was Yaakov and Israel, so that's Bnei Israel, Eretz Yisrael, the land of these three cities. Even though that Eretz Canaan, Tisha Shvatim, even though that in the land of Canaan, it was divided among 9.5 tribes. Here it says 9 tribes. And on the other side of the Jordan, on the eastern side, outside of Israel, was only 2.5. So it doesn't sort of make any sense. Why do you have as many cities of refuge in Israel as outside? These are for accidental murderers. I mean, you think that accidental murder would occur in proportion to the population, right? Nevertheless, the Reuven and Gad, those that lived east of the Jordan River, they got an equal number. Shava, they got an equal number of cities of refuge, Mishum, because the Begilad Nefishi Rotzchim, because on the other side of the Jordan River, there were more murderers. And we're talking about accidental murderers. The Ketiv, like it says, Gilead Kriyat Porle Avon, Akvos Badam. There's a lot of murder. What's the idea? And the land of Israel is holy, right? So the land of Israel is holy, especially when there's the tabernacle there. When there's the tabernacle, it's a holy land. So when holiness calms a person down, because a person feels that he's being created, and that he's being created by God who loves him. He's not just being created by the powers of nature. He's being created by God who loves him and cares about him and gave him all these laws, because it's very important to God what we do. So as a result, that sort of takes the pressure off of a person, right? And somebody gets me mad or cuts me off, so I'm driving, right? Or something gets me angry. So I say, okay, it's not just between me and him. It's between me and him and God. And after all, God is creating me and God is creating him. So it takes the pressure off. So therefore, there was less murder outside of Israel. To the Jewish people, for the Jewish people, I'm sorry. Ulagir v'toshav v'tocham, and those people who dwell and those people who toshav. This is the non-Jews that non-Jews, but they accept on themselves what's called 7 Noahide commandments. Tiyana sheish orim. These cities will be lemiklat, as a city of refuge. Lanus shama, to run there anyone who kills someone by accident. Right. So it says that the Jewish people that were born Jewish, people that converted to be Jewish, and people that did not convert to be Jewish, but they kept the 7 Noahide commandments, they are also there. They are also. The im bichli barzel hiko. What if the murderer had a weapon of iron, a weapon of destruction, a sword? Then the city does not protect him. Rotzeachu, then it's a murder, mod yamut rotzeach, then he gets taken out and killed. Rashi. This is not talking about someone who killed accidentally. This is talking about someone who killed purposely. And it comes to tell us, if he killed someone intentionally, but it has to be that what he killed him with had enough power to kill him. In other words, let's say that a Shmerel wants to kill his next door neighbor, drives over his lawn all the time, and he goes out and he takes a rubber hose and he hits him across the head. Hits him across the head with a rubber hose, and the guy dies from fear. Is Shmerel called a murderer? Well, he had the intention, he wanted to kill him, he did everything he could, but a rubber hose doesn't kill people. It just happened to be here that he died. So if so, it has to be that the weapon or whatever it was that he used shows that he knew what he was doing. He really had intention to kill this person. and he really had, in other words, he brought his intention to the ultimate level of potential. Shenamar, like it says, "V'kulam asher yamut." He has to be with something that it can be a deadly weapon. The only exception to this is iron. Iron. The guy wants to kill his next door neighbor and he takes out a pin, a needle. It's iron. Shaguliv, it's known in front of God. Shabarzel, that iron can kill a person with even a little bit. Afilu machat, even a needle. The fichach, therefore, alone need in the Torah shir, then therefore there's no measure. Lichtobo asher yamutbo. If a person doesn't die from a needle, then not always does it kill. But the fact is that it definitely does have the power to kill. The im tomar, if you say maybe this is talking about someone who killed by accident. He had in his hand a rake, a shovel, or he was cutting wheat in his backyard, in his field, and it happened to be that he swung backward and he killed somebody with this thing, or there was somebody hiding in the bushes and he killed. So maybe that person also is considered to be a murderer. Hari Omer, it says, "Lo, bakal Evan asher yamut bo below ra'ot." It says, "Lomar ala amorim." That's what it says above. That below it says if you killed somebody, and it talks about by accident. And now it's talking about a different type of murder. It's talking about killing someone on purpose. So in other words, it has to be, in order for a person to be sentenced to death, it has to be that he had the intention to kill, did it on purpose. That's called mezid. And it had to be that the weapon that he used usually would be enough to kill somebody. Usually would be enough to kill somebody. And in addition to all the other things that I said, he has to have a proper warning, and there have to be two witnesses, and he has to agree to the warning, and he has to carry out the murder immediately after he's warned. Okay, next, now we're talking about accidental. What if a person takes a stone and he kills somebody with intention? He's a murderer. Mot yamot. What does it mean? Sheyesh bo malayad, even yad. It says he's got a stone that's as big as his hand, not just a little pebble. Asher yamut bo sheyesh bo shiur lamid. It's big enough to kill somebody with. The only exception, like he said, that doesn't have to have a certain amount to kill is iron. Iron, it says, kills an even a little bit. Lefi, because it says v'ka ishet re'u be'evan o be'egrof. It says earlier. V'lonatan loshir. There is no measure, so you might think even a little bit. That's why it says yamutbo. That's why it says yamutbo. It says the amount that it'll take to kill. So it has to be a stone or whatever, an implement that would usually be enough to kill a person. Kli Ykar, or a person has a weapon of a club, a baseball bat. Asher yamutbo, that's big enough to kill a person. V'yamut rotzea v'yamut, and the person he hits dies. Rotzeachu, he is a murderer. Mot yamut rotzeach. Because it already says Rashi, if a person smites his servant, manservant or male servant with a staff, you might think even a little bit. Therefore, it says it has to be a big enough piece of wood that you can kill someone with. That's something. Usually speaking, let's just take simply, let's say a cane. It's becoming very popular to cane self-protections with a cane. A cane usually is not an instrument that can kill somebody, usually, right? You have to be pretty expert in order to kill somebody with a cane. A baseball bat can definitely kill somebody, even if you don't know what you're doing, right? A baseball bat is definitely deadly. So it's a big difference between one or the other, right? Okay, so let's somebody killed someone by accident, right? He killed someone by accident. Either the weapon that he used wasn't big enough to kill somebody, or it was truly by accident, right? He didn't, we'll see soon. He was chopping wood and he lifted the axe over his shoulder and it flew off and it by accident killed the person. So he says, if the accident has a little bit, a tinge of negligence to it, then Gola Damu Yamit at the Rotzeach. Then the Redeemer, he can kill the murderer, the Pigo, well, whenever he meets him, who Yamitanu, he can kill him. Rashi, Afilu b'toch ari miklat. But he can, if the person was killed intentionally, if he killed intentionally, then the avenger can even run into the city of refuge and kill him. As is understood, there has to be a trial. In Besina Yadafeno, what if somebody killed somebody else, not by accident? What if, and I'm sorry, he pushed him, or he waited for him. Or let's say he didn't have anything in his hand. He beat the person with his own hand, his own fist. He intended to kill the person, and he knew how to use his hands. He killed him with his own hands. The person, a hand can kill somebody, right? You can kill it. A person like that kills intentionally, as he's free game. He's free game, right? The avenger from the family, they can kill him. Strange law. Of course, how can you know that this has to be after the trial? This has to be after the trial. Because if someone kills somebody else, unless you see the person killing him on purpose, right, then you could, and it has to be your family. You just can't jump in, kill somebody. Unless you're saving the person's life. If you're saving a person's life, then it's the law of a rodef, and you can kill the one who is pursuing the other one. Okay, up to now we've been talking about our purpose. Purpose, the city of refuge, doesn't help. But in Bepeta, if accidentally, suddenly, below Eva, without any hatred, he pushed a person, or he shlich alav, kol kli, or he threw something at him, below tzidia, but he wasn't hunting him. What does it mean, peta? He says, ba'onis. It was against his will, right? It was a big crowd, or he was walking on the street, somebody pushed him, and he knocked into somebody else. Shoya Samachlu, he was next to the person, and he didn't have enough time to be careful. Obekal Evan, or in some sort of a stone, but he threw it and he didn't see the person. Vayapel vayamot, right? He threw a stone out of his window and it killed this person, but he never hated this person and he didn't want to his rato. He didn't look to do any bad to him. Right? He hit him with a stone. He didn't see. Shloro. He threw the stone out of his window, or he was cleaning out his backyard and he threw a stone over his shoulder and it fell on him. Here we learned that Horag Derech Yerida is Gola. Derech Aliyah ain't Gola. It's like this. Let's say a person is pushing an air conditioner, right? Or one of those solar plates or something like that on top of his roof. He's going up his ladder. Goes up the ladder, and this big solar plate falls off of his shoulders and it kills somebody. So because he was going up, so therefore if it falls out, that's considered to be a total accident and it's not negligence and he's free. But if he's coming down, with this thing, so he's watching out. He has to watch out. He's responsible. So therefore, if it falls on somebody coming down, then that's considered to be negligence and the person has to run to a city of refuge. And if not, he's in trouble. So he has to be taken from the city of refuge to judges, and they judge him between him and the avenger on these things. Is it permissible for the avenger to take revenge or not? If the judges decide that this murderer did it by total accident, then he is saved from the avenger. He is saved from the avenger. Then he goes back to the city of refuge. Asher nas shama v'yashav sham. We're talking about if he killed, but because of negligence, not on purpose. So the only one that the redeemer, that the avenger has the right to kill, is only two cases. We didn't get to the other case yet. One case is that the person killed intentionally, and he killed with a intent to kill, and he had a weapon that was sufficient to kill. As that person, the redeemer can kill him. And if the Redeemer doesn't kill him, then he's taken out and killed. He's stoned, or whatever, is stoned to death, whatever, beheaded. What is the punishment? I think the punishment is beheading. I have to look and see. Okay. But if the person killed through negligence, then they take him back to the city of refuge, and the avenger, right, someone from the family of the deceased, the victim, they can't go into the city of refuge to kill him. They can't. But if this negligent murderer goes outside of the city of refuge for whatever reason it is, and the avenger meets him there, then he has the right to kill him. The city protects him. But if the person, it was a total accident, then he doesn't have to go to the city of refuge, and the avenger cannot kill him. Okay, so again, a person that killed intentionally, as the avenger can kill him. Anyone in the family can kill him if they catch him anywhere. That's what they have to put him into a prison or something to keep him away from the avenger, because the avenger can kill him until he's executed. If the murder was through negligence, then he has to go back to the city of refuge, and he better not go out, because if he leaves the city of refuge, the avenger can kill him. But there's one way he can go out of the city of refuge, and that is, he says, Yoshev bo, he sits there ad mot hakohen hagadol, until the high priest dies. Asher mashach oto b'shem hakodesh, that he is anointed with the holy oil. Rashi, until the Kohen Gadol, what's the Kohen Gadol got to do with it? The high priest, he had nothing to do with it. Says, not only that, it says that the mothers, the relatives of the high priest would go and bring all sorts of cakes and good things to the accidental murderers in the city of refuge, so that they wouldn't pray that the high priest would die, because prayers are very powerful. So this accidental murderer sits in the city of refuge until the high priest dies. So he'll throw a couple of prayers every day in the Shmon Esrei that I hope the Kohen Gadol dies, the high priest, he dies, in his sleep, a nice quiet death, but the sooner the better. So therefore it says that the family of the high priest would come and bring all sorts of goodies and things like this, so that the person shouldn't mind being in the city of refuge. Now, the city of refuge, by the way, was a regular city. It wasn't some sort of a desolate, what it was, no man's land, like it was in Siberia or something. It was a regular city. The three of them were in Israel. Okay, until the Kohen Gadol. How does the Kohen Gadol, how does the high priest get involved in this whole thing? We're waiting for it. Says Rashi, Shehu boy lashros shalom, that the high priest came to put the Shekhinah, God's presence in the Jewish people, which means people will live longer. Rotzeach, and this person that killed accidentally, he came to remove God's presence from the world. He shortened somebody else's life. Therefore, it's not fitting that he should kadai shia'e lifnei Kohen Gadol. It's not proper that he should get out free before the Kohen Gadol, in the lifetime of the Kohen Gadol. Another opinion, the Fisha Hayal the Kohen Gadol Palel. It's a little bit the Kohen Gadol's fault. He should have prayed harder. Shalut Terah. There shouldn't be this accident. These terrible things happen, even accidental murder in his life, because the Kohen Gadol didn't pray. So therefore, this thing happened, and therefore the high priest has to be worried all the time. This fellow's waiting. He's just, longing for me to die so he can go free. It says that the Kohen Gadol, that he was anointed with the holy oil. The Fish Peshuto, it says, it doesn't say that who anointed him, but it's like Asher Moshcho. So the rabbis say like this: L'riyat davar l'lamed. It comes to teach us she'im ad shelo nigmar dino. What if, right, Shmerel killed somebody through negligence, not on purpose, Now he has to go to the city of refuge. City of refuge. They're going to decide his case. They're going to sentence him on the 20th day of the month. On the 10th day of the month, the Kohen Gadol dies. He dies beforehand. Then they appoint a new high priest in his place. What? They have a new high priest is appointed on the 10th day of the month. On the 20th day of the month, that's the sentencing. As chozer b'misaso shel hasheni, you don't say, right? If they would have just sentenced him one day before the high priest died, then the next day he would have gone free. But because the high priest died before he was actually sentenced, so therefore we say that his death does not disqualify. We wait for the death of the second one. Like it says, Asher Moshachoto, the one that got anointed, right? The one that got anointed before he was sentenced. Okay, the Kli Ykar says something very nice, but we really don't have any time to do it. So he says the whole thing that the Kohen Gadol was anointed with oil, and this oil was 1/2 of 250. Machatzet siso. Here it says, where is it? Where is it? Is it one? This person took away the oil. All right, he says it in a different place. It's not over here. It says that 1/2 of the amount that they anoint him with is 250 units. Machatzisom chamishim u'matayim, and that's the gematria of ner. So this person, because he extinguished a ner, a light of somebody's life, even though it was accidental, so therefore he has to wait for the Kohen that's anointed with oil that was the numerical value of love. Okay. But if the murderer goes outside of the city of refuge that he ran to, and the redeemer, the avenger, found him outside of the city, then rotzach, and he can kill him. Goel adam et rotzach, he can kill him. The ein lo dam, and he's not guilty. It's like he killed somebody that was already dead. That's what Rashi says. It's like he killed somebody that was already dead. He has to sit in the city until the high priest dies, and after the high priest dies, then he can go back to where he lived. These cities should be for them as a eternal chukat mishpat, as a law for all the generations and all of the places where you live. Rashi says that the Sanhedrin should be even outside of Israel all the time that it's in the land of Israel. In other words, when after the temple was destroyed, then the Sanhedrin, after the temple was destroyed, so the Sanhedrin still existed in the land of Israel for a couple of hundred years, and all the time that it was in Israel as it was outside of Israel as well. Call Maka Nefesh, anyone who kills somebody in front of witnesses, Yirtzach et Rotzeach, Be'ed Echad Lo Yaneh B'Nefesh Lamut. It says anyone who kills in front of two witnesses, then you can sentence the murderer to death. But one witness cannot stand up to testify. Habola Hargo al Shehika et Nefesh, Shiaidu B'Mezid Hatra Hargo. It has to be two people that warn him. If there's one person, then one witness is like nothing. Says to the judges, Lo tikhu kofer, don't take a bribe for the murderer, and because he's a Rosh Lamut, Kimot Yamut, he's going to die. Lo yiftar b'mamam. What does it mean that the murderer himself can say to the judges, listen, Your Honor, okay, I killed somebody. I really regret it. Why? What are you going to get out of it if you kill me? Enough people have died. You know what? I see you need a new courthouse. This courthouse looks terrible. I'm going to build you a new courthouse, $10 million on the table. 10 million on the table. And people told me also that the jailhouse is pretty bad shape. 20 million for a new jailhouse. What do you say? Take him out and kill him. But Your Honor, what about all the money? I'm going to give you money for this. We'd love to take the money. We need the money. But it says in the Torah we're not allowed to. He can't take any. Also, you can't take money. A person that accidental murderer, right? The person that murdered negligence. So maybe he can also bribe the judge and say, "Listen, let me out a little bit early. Come on, let me go early." Says you can't do that either. V'lo tachnifu et haaretz. Do not bribe. What do you bribe? The flat or whatever. Don't lie to the land of Israel that you're in, because Adam hu yachanif at the because the blood of the guilty of the murdered person will, how do you say, defile the land. Because he spilled blood. Don't disqualify it, don't defile the land of Israel, the land that you're on, because I am in this land, says God. I am God that dwells in this land. So there's a Kli Ykar. It's very nice, but we ran out of time. But he says the land provides two things for people. One thing it provides is a place to live. And the other thing it provides is food from the land. So this person, he killed someone else. The blood spilled on the earth. So what do you want to say? This guy, he's a murderer. Why should the land of Israel benefit him? What do you think, that he can somehow or other, the land of Israel is going to like bribe him or something? It's going to give him free gifts that he doesn't deserve, right? Going to give him free gifts. He's going to give him land, place to live, and let him eat from the food of the land. He defiled the land. So because he defiled the land, therefore he's got no right to utilize the land to get food from it or of a place to live. That's why he should be taken to die. Rashi says, "Lo tashkinu oti betumata." Don't make me live in a land that's become defiled because justice was not done. It says, "I dwell among the Jewish people, even in the time that they're tumim." It says, look what it says. Ani shochen betocham. Don't defile the land and make me dwell among the Jews, because I dwell among them. In other words, even if the Jewish people are impure and you don't do judgment, God says, nevertheless, I'm going to dwell among them. Even when the time when the Jewish people are impure, they're doing all terrible sins, God says, I will always dwell among the Jewish people, even if the temple is destroyed, but God's presence is not destroyed. That is today's lesson about the cities of refuge. Have a good day with Mashiach now. Tomorrow we'll finish Pirkei Avot.